Hey Nebraska, wanted to hop to the video phone today. We were one of the few, we're fortunate to be at the LIBA meeting today, and a lot of you heard stuff in the papers. So I thought I'd set the record straight. So first of all, nominated for the LIBA board, so that should be full disclosure. And I really want to defend LIBA, and I want to go back to 2014. Many of us in the independent category are discriminated against and not allowed to speak, be heard, or given a platform. And that was not the case with LIBA. That's one organization I felt really good about. As I'm a constitutionalist, but since we don't have a party, we're technically independents. We were discriminated against by the Independent Insurers Association of America. We were discriminated from being heard by the National Independent Federation of Business. And most organizations discriminate against you because you're not in one of two parties. But that's not the case with LIBA. And in fact, LIBA, despite the affiliations, which I fully support, everyone has a right to their own political opinion, invited people from all parties, Democrat, Independent, and Republican, to speak. And I hate to see them be intimidated by people on the far left getting quite rude, honestly. Everyone, or at least I do, support a right to protest and think it's very important. And to air your grievances on the sidewalk, even a larger rally and organizing streets, but a peaceful protest, it is not appropriate. In fact, it's against the law, and I think more people should have been arrested to protest inside private property on a building. Furthermore, an airing of grievances is important, but we need to have honest and fruitful discussions. And honestly, I've always found the reason why I support LIBA. Well, I'm a business owner. By the way, proud to be one. We've passed the 100 employee mark with 2 different businesses, and it's funny, business organizations didn't want to hear what we had to think, even though we're a CPA as well, including the other independent who's a very successful rancher and restaurant owner. But LIBA was always open to hearing from all business people, and so they should be applauded for that. So anyways, Kobe's taking responsibility for not inviting the media, and that's his to take if he wants to, but at the same time, I understood where that meeting was at. So many people were protesting and wanting to get in, so I understand the decision he made. But moving on, Deb Fischer spoke today, and I'm going to speak for myself. My views don't represent LIBA or other members. They represent my own. But I did want to communicate to people that we're not allowed to see what Senator Fischer had to say, and I tweeted out what happened, so you can follow me at Watson for Senate in real time. But it was a shame that her speech got interrupted because Senator Fischer was getting quite candid in a lot of her answers, and I thought it was very revealing. And I would have liked to heard a lot more and let her keep going, but nonetheless, the protesters interrupted it, and the meeting got cut short, which was just a tragedy for the people because, again, I think positions are being revealed. But here's kind of the quick summary. She wanted to disclose what she's been working on. She said she's been just tied down. There's 1,200 appointments per her that Trump will be making, so there's just a lot of time reviewing personnel. She says she gets frustrated how slow it is, but she also takes pride in how slow it is because that's part of the Senate's job. Next, they're moving into healthcare reconciliation. Again, gave no details as far as where that's going. Again, we told you in 2014 they didn't have a plan. They lied to you and said, well, we got to have a plan to replace. They never had one. There's been a lot of million ones, but they couldn't reconcile. And if you can't reconcile a plan in your own party, how are you going to get a plan reconciled with people that disagree with you? So it starts with having a plan within your own party. So didn't hear much details on what that is. Then she talked tax reform. This was very eye-opening. There is tax reform going on in the House of Representatives. She made it crystal clear that the House plan, whatever that is, I don't have the details, whatever that plan is happening in the House will not be warmly received by the Senate. So there's going to be a lot of revisions. So she called I'm paraphrasing, but August, the rumor on the street of tax reform getting down a pipe dream, or it's not going to happen per her angle. She expressed she was disappointed on, doesn't agree with Trump on the TPP, wish that would have kept going. I'm going to address TPP in a different video because the establishment keeps labeling TPP as a sole trade issue. It is not, and we've got to teach people what TPP really is. And we can have trade, and we should have trade, and we can have great trade. We just have to observe the Constitution first. Then she went into Q&A. She addressed a question on immigration, and she wants to piecemeal the immigration solution. She doesn't want a grand bargain, kind of like Reagan in '86. She made it crystal clear, we want to secure the border. Again, we told you in 2014, don't elect two parties if you want a secure border. She says everyone in Washington agrees on this. Then I'm like, why isn't it done? Because I told you that's really not whether the interests want is a secure border. But nonetheless, she said first priority is secure the border. We're still on that march. And then secondly, she wants to address legal immigration. So that would be her priority in order of addressing immigration. And she really delved into infrastructure plan. You could tell she's passionate about this. This is one thing I think she gets mostly right. I think her plan is actually great to delegate to the states. And so I fully support that plan. What she doesn't tell you is there's a provision in there to reduce the dividends deduction, so it actually raise taxes on businesses. Read the language in the bill. They never want to tell you the earmarks they got to put on there. So I'm not in favor of that piece. We already know the corporate tax rate's uncompetitive. But nonetheless, the overarching philosophy of getting infrastructure money down to the states to build stuff, very good. That's unfortunately, it's not getting traction in committee. But take a look at it. It's actually I don't think Fisher does that much on the big scale on the important things that we need to see get done, but this is one area I think she gets right. This was the shocking news. Most of you are going to hear about her protesting because of her approval of the appointment of the Department of Education. So of course that's got a lot of people very upset and screaming, but she came out strongly against school choice and vouchers. So that's going to upset a lot of conservatives. So I don't think she's winning on education on either side. She's upsetting people with who she's for appointing. And then she's against the choice and vouchers. But the overarching question, which is what most of us constitutionalists was actually asked today, we want the Department of Education gone. We shouldn't even worry about who we appoint. We want local control of schools. Those decisions to be made at a local level. The federal government should have nothing to do with it. Anyway, someone stood up and asked that question. And to be fair, Senator Fisher affirms local control. But then she says the DOE, she didn't want to have the debate with the person on eliminating Department of Education. She said, and again, these are shorter answers, but the Department of Education is important because it facilitates funding from the federal government down to the states, and that's part of the role is to facilitate this funding, which I still find absolutely ridiculous. So I'm telling you, don't listen to the campaign promises. They talk about eliminating this department. It's all talk. It's really playing the violin to the hardcore conservatives. But some of us really mean this. Like, we don't see a role for the Department of Education at the federal government. We want educational decisions to be made at the local level in the local communities. And what they decide could be a variety of options. But nonetheless, that's where the decision should be made. So, but really, when you break it down, it's just so disappointing to hear, fast track authority, still debating TPP, upset with the president, taking that off the table. Again, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, the Constitution delegates commerce with foreign nations to the Congress. Now, you can argue the Congress is dysfunctional and it's too unorganized to get trade. That doesn't matter. That's a congressional problem that needs to get fixed. So commerce should be owned and the lead foot should be done by Congress. But again, talking about what the president's doing, immigration, that issue and what's Trump saying, and Trump's doing this on immigration. Again, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4, lead foot should be with Congress on immigration. So it's all these issues of what's Trump doing, what's our reaction, how does our infrastructure plan go with Trump's. That was a great question, by the way. But again, if we don't have a plan on healthcare, can't get it done. We don't have a finalized plan on immigration, can't get it done. Let me ask the logical question. If there's $1 billion going to be, or trillion, be spent on infrastructure, where's the plan? Don't you think we should have a plan on $1 trillion? That's why it goes back to, where are we going as conservatives? That's why the party drives me crazy. It's what they're against. Those of us conservatives have left the party. We had healthcare plans. We had Social Security reform plans. Where's the infrastructure plan? We need these debates. We have visions of what needs to be done, where we need to go. And then we have as a constitution, we have an understanding the Senate should be responsible for a lot of these issues. The House should be responsible. Where's the leadership? That's the failure of these two bodies. And again, you can listen to our senators lie to you and say, we're about recouping legislative control. Then why give fast track authority to the president to negotiate the trade deals when that's what the Constitution calls for you to do? So, a lot of people applauded, but again, I think the ducking of the major issues happened. No questions, no comments on passing a $9.7 trillion deficit, larger than Obama created. This is a big deal to a lot of us. They're really call ourselves fiscal conservatives. That wasn't brought up. Didn't really talk. She mentioned she's proud of her committee work in the armed services area, but really didn't talk foreign engagements at all. Now, her defense, it was a very limited time. But again, I think they're missing the boat on the key issues, and the distractions by the protesters on being upset about, the DOE, head of the DOE choice. And then you could just see the hardcore Republicans just get mad and just rile up against the protesters, and they're going to dig in harder for Fisher because they're just so mad about the other side winning. And, as a constitutionalist, I'm like, there's no discussion in the public forum on some of these bigger issues like a $9.7 trillion debt. What's going on with national security? So it's just, I don't want to see these forums destroyed, and I think proper respect should be shown to Senator Fisher and let her speak and let her be heard. And we're getting positions out that are so important for the people. So there's a better way to protest, and frankly, it was just illegal. You can't go on private property, bang on windows, and almost broke the window. It was so loud, and the doors. It was just rude. And so those of us with different opinions on issues, we need to be heard, and organizations that let us be heard should not be torn down. And frankly, signs with cuss words, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And as I've warned, there's a lot of people that love people. They're liberal-leaning. They're totally different than violent leftists. And it's just like goes back to Russia. Just peaceful socialists get taken over by the minority that are violent leftists. And those of you on the left side, you've got to stand up against these people with this absurd behavior. Because otherwise your opinions are going to get squashed. People aren't listening because they're so frustrated with this type of behavior. So again, we need protest that's protected by the Constitution. There's a way to do it. It's peaceful, and God bless, we need more of that. In fact, I'd like to see more conservatives do it. But this crossed a complete legal line and was disappointing. So I'm going to hit to the video phone next on the trade issue, because TPP is not primarily about trade. We'll get there next. Thanks.